Yesterday, I tried to kill myself. It wasn't that I wanted to die as much as the fact that I wanted the pain to stop. Elizabeth, my wife, left me a while ago, and I'd been missing her a lot. That was one source of pain, and a pretty major one, I have to admit. Even after a war in which more than 4 million German soldiers died, German wives are hard to come by. But another serious pain in my life was the war itself, of course, and what happened to me back then, and in the Soviet POW camps afterward, which perhaps made my decision to commit suicide odd, considering how hard it was not to die in Russia. But staying alive was always more of a habit for me than an active choice. For years under the Nazis, I stayed alive out of sheer bloody-mindedness. So I asked myself, early one spring morning, why not kill yourself? To a Goethe-loving Prussian like me, the pure reason of a question like that was almost unassailable. Besides, it wasn't as if life was so great anymore, although, in truth, I'm not sure it ever was. Tomorrow, and the long, long empty years to come after that, isn't something of much interest to me, especially down here on the French Riviera. I was on my own, pushing 60, and working in a hotel job that I could do in my sleep. Not that I got much of that these days. Most of the time I was miserable. I was living somewhere I didn't belong, and it felt like a cold corner in hell. So it wasn't as if I believed anyone who enjoys a sunny day would miss the dark cloud that was my face. There was all that for choosing to die, plus the arrival of a guest at the hotel. A guest I recognized and wished I hadn't. But I'll come to him in a moment. Before that, I have to explain why I'm still here. I went into the garage underneath my small apartment in Villefranche, closed the door, and waited in the car with the engine turning over. Carbon monoxide poisoning isn't so bad. You just shut your eyes and go to sleep. If the car hadn't stalled, or perhaps just ran out of gas, I wouldn't be here now. I thought I might try it again another time, if things didn't improve, and if I bought a more reliable motor car. On the other hand, I could have returned to Berlin, like my poor wife, which might have achieved the same result. Even today, it's just as easy to get yourself killed there as it ever was, and if I were to go back to the former German capital, I don't think it would be very long before someone was kind enough to organize my sudden death. One side or the other has got it in for me, and with good reason. When I was living in Berlin and being a cop, or an ex-cop, I managed to offend almost everyone, with the possible exception of the British. Even so, I miss the city a lot. I miss the beer, of course, and the sausage. I miss being a cop when being Berlin police still meant something good. But mostly I miss the people, who were as sour as I am. Even Germans don't like Berliners, and it's a feeling that's usually reciprocated. Berliners don't like anyone very much, especially the women, which somehow only makes them more attractive to a dumbhead like me. There's nothing more attractive to a man than a beautiful woman who really doesn't care if he lives or dies. I miss the women most of all. There were so many women. I think about the good women I've known, quite a few of the bad ones too, whom I'll never see again, and sometimes I start crying. And from there it's only a short trip to the garage and asphyxiation, especially if I've been drinking, which at home is most of the time. When I'm not feeling sorry for myself, I play bridge, or read books about playing bridge, which might strike a lot of people as a pretty good reason on its own to kill yourself. But it's a game I find stimulating. Bridge helps to keep my mind sharp and occupied with something other than thoughts of home. And all those women, of course. In retrospect, it seems that a great many of them must have been blondes, and not just because they were German or close to being German. Rather too late in life, I've learned that there's a type of woman I'm attracted to, which is the wrong type, and it often happens that this includes a certain shade of hair colour that just spells trouble for a man like me. Risky mate search and sexual cannibalism are a lot more common than you might think, although more usual among spiders. Apparently, the females assess the nutritional value of a male, rather than a male's value as a mate, which more or less sums up the history of my entire personal life. I've been eaten alive so many times, I feel like I've got 8 legs, although by now it's probably just 3 or 4. It's not much of an insight, I know, and like I say, it hardly matters now. But even if it happens late in life, a degree of self-awareness has to be better than none at all. That's what my wife used to tell me, anyway. Self-awareness certainly worked for her. She woke up one morning and realized just how bored and disappointed she was with me and our new life in France, and went back home the very next day. I can't say that I blame her. She never managed to learn French, appreciate the food, or even enjoy the sun very much, and that's the only thing down here of which there's a free and plentiful supply. At least in Berlin you always know why you're miserable. That's what Berlin Luft is all about, an attempt to try to whistle your way out of the gloom. Here, on the Riviera, you would think there's everything to whistle about and no reason at all to be down in the mouth. But somehow I managed it, and she couldn't take that any more.